can I ask you to give a warm Rotary welcome to Amber? It's all you.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Danny. I really do so appreciate it, and your leadership as a member of the United Way Board. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Happy New Year to all of you. I hope you've entered the new year with all the enthusiasm and excitement that I have. This year is going to be a terrific year for all of us. Tuberculosis. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, tuberculosis, or TB, was a full-blown epidemic and the leading cause of death in the United States. It was one of the most feared diseases in the world because it led to a slow and painful end to one's life. If you received this horrible diagnosis, your doctors would tell you that your lungs might have a chance in an environment of clean air and sunshine. So in pursuit of clean air and sunshine, tuberculosis patients headed west to frontier land, and more specifically to the higher elevations of Denver, Colorado. By the late 19th century, Denver was booming thanks to industrialization, railroad expansion, and gold rush fever. This sudden surge of population stressed the infrastructure and resources in Denver. Like most booming cities in the U.S. during this time, Denver was experiencing surplus wealth from the growth of industry. Although the wealthy were donating more to charitable causes, the needs of Denver's citizens far outpaced what those contributions could cover. Adding to this strain on big cities like Denver were issues of child labor, low wages, long hours, poor working conditions, unsanitary environments, crowded housing, crime, and an epidemic of illness. And by 1887, more than 1/3 of Denver's population was stricken with tuberculosis. Churches, synagogues, community centers, food banks, and organizations like the Red Cross and the YMCA were trying to serve as many of these needs as they could. But they were all working on their own, raising their own funds, rallying their own support, and trying to serve their own populations. It just wasn't enough to meet the need. Now was the time to unite. But how could it be done? United Way's founders were a diverse group of caregivers, leaders, and community advocates. Meet our founding fathers and mother, a rabbi, a priest, a pastor, a minister, and a teacher. And no, they did not walk into a bar. Educator Francis Jacobs, Reverend Myron Reed, Monsignor William O'Ryan, Rabbi William Friedman, and Dean Martin Hart came together to come up with a new plan that addressed the needs of their congregations, their neighborhoods, their communities, and more specifically to address the extreme poverty plaguing Denver. Their idea was innovative, yet strikingly simple. Create one charitable organization and coordinate one campaign for the benefit of 22 human service agencies and relief agencies. And it worked. A few caring innovators inspired thousands of heroes to raise their hands and change the game for those lacking in education, the sick, the unstable, and the most vulnerable adults and children in Denver. The United Way movement was born. Fast forward 31 years. The United Way movement reached Indianapolis on April 22, 1918, in the form of a gigantic war chest erected on the steps of Monument Circle. Led by some of the most noted philanthropists of that time, J.K. Lilly, William Fortune, Charles Summers, to name a few, the first campaign was an innovative approach to raising funds for local charities and for the war effort. Their idea was innovative, yet simple. Band together and create one charitable campaign for the benefit of Indianapolis's human services agencies and invite the entire community to be part of that united effort. This bold plan was enthusiastically embraced. Community drives were organized in neighborhoods. Companies inspired giving within their workplaces. An army of volunteers canvassed the community. Crowds gathered on the steps of Monument Circle to watch silver, gold, cash, and Liberty bonds being donated to the chest. It worked. In 1 month, the war chest raised more than $3 million for relief and social welfare organizations. That's $50 million in today's dollars. In 1 month, a few caring innovators inspired thousands of heroes to raise their hands and change the game for the undereducated, the sick, the unstable, and the most vulnerable adults and children in Indianapolis. In central Indiana, the United Way movement was alive. Now, fast forward 100 years. 2018 marks United Way of Central Indiana's centennial celebration. And as we look back over history, so much has changed. Vaccines have virtually wiped out many deadly diseases, including, thank goodness, tuberculosis. We're pretty certain a big collection box on Monument Circle might be a little outdated given today's technology. And big fundraising thermometers don't accurately take the temperature of a community's needs. Money alone cannot solve our most complex challenges. Today, United Way is much more than a fundraiser. We are the hand raisers and the game changers. We are united hand raisers, and we unite hand raisers like you to fight head on what plagues our children, our families, our neighborhoods, and our communities. And what does that fight boil down to? Poverty. Poverty is an issue that affects all of us who live in, work in, love our community, our city, and our region. Poverty can't be solved as a single issue by a single entity or with temporary fixes. It is complex, stubborn, and now affecting members of our community across generations. At United Way, we take a comprehensive approach that focuses on education, financial stability, health, and basic needs, the building blocks for a better community. So why these areas? Education, because we know that a quality education is the best path out of poverty. Financial stability, because we know that giving residents the tools they need to get better jobs, achieve higher wages, and build a solid financial foundation is key to success. Health, because we know that access to health care, as well as healthy foods, activities, and environments, creates healthier communities, both physically and mentally. And basic needs, because we know that no person should worry about where and when they will get their next meal, or whether they can afford to keep the heat on in the dead of winter. We know the needs are real. We know the needs are great. Perhaps you've read the recent report from the Sagamore Institute's Public Good Index. From 2000 to 2015, Indianapolis residents living in poverty rose by 85,000 people, just shy of the total population growth during that period. Over 30% of our children are living in poverty. As I said, the issues are complex. Our external environment has changed at an astonishing rate. The jobs of the past that supported a reasonable standard of living for many, and that frankly became the lifeblood of many urban neighborhoods, are gone. The jobs of the future require different skills than those of the past, and those skills require a different level of education. Lack of reliable, flexible, and affordable transportation options limit opportunity for many. While we have seen economic growth, that growth has not been inclusive of all members of our community. That's why we fight. So what happens when we unite to fight for our community? In just the last year, we made amazing things happen together. State funding for pre-K in 20 Indiana counties is now a reality, thanks to United Way's coalition of advocates in our public and private sectors. This was a huge win for our region, our state, and most importantly for thousands of preschoolers from low-income families. These kids now have access to the high-quality education they so deserve, which means they will enter kindergarten prepared and on a successful educational path that leads out of poverty. Because United Way won a federal Social Innovation Fund grant, $21 million in total investment will be made in 5 of our city's most challenged neighborhoods and will help stabilize the lives of parents and children in those areas using an innovative 2-generation approach to poverty. And 9,000 community volunteers gave of themselves by reading to children every week, donating supplies to our schools, and/or volunteering thousands of hours of time and expertise at one or more of our 85 United Way partner agencies. These are just a few of United Way's accomplishments. Accomplishments made possible by United Way, but only through the coordinated efforts of individuals and organizations committed to our cause. For 100 years, we've known that a community's problems can't be solved by one person, one supporter, one organization, or one piece of legislation. Just like in 1887 in Denver, in 1918 in Indianapolis, and in central Indiana today, it takes a few innovators to inspire all of us to be heroes for our community and to empower us to make a real difference together. That is United Way. And speaking of heroes, one of our United Way anniversary initiatives this year is the unveiling of our 100 heroes. Over the last few months, we've received hundreds of submissions, and a 9-member volunteer committee had the impossible task of choosing only 100 to honor. These 100 individuals, nominated by their family members, peers, coworkers, friends, and neighbors, have a unique story to tell about their love of going above and beyond to support our community. Today, at this very moment, we are breaking the news and unveiling our 100 heroes to you first. These 100 individuals, you have to read fast here, or I have to talk slow, represent a diverse group of people from all walks of life. And we love that so many of them are our everyday heroes, living each day, doing a remarkable job of helping others and their communities without any fanfare. Today, we begin thanking them by giving them their moment in the limelight. And I'm delighted to introduce you to one of the chosen 100 who is here with us today, Kim Donahue. Will you please stand? Kim Donahue received the most nominations of any person on the list, 43 to be precise. But this wasn't a popularity contest. Kim was chosen because she exemplifies all of the traits of a community hero. From her nominees, she is heralded as an advisor, a cheerleader, and wise mentor. She personifies community spirit, humble and strong. She is tireless in her efforts to elicit the best out of all those she encounters. Kim is the voice of encouragement, of service, and simply, she is one smart lady. Her enthusiastic support of agency leadership has resulted in positive outcomes for hundreds of thousands of our most vulnerable neighbors in central Indiana. Thank you, Kim, for all you've done. You make our community a better place. And now that you retired, she retired just before the holidays, we know you can finally enjoy your well-deserved retirement. Kim retired from United Way, and I still think she's going to wake up one of these days and think, oh my gosh, I missed that work. I'm going to be right back there forward. So she told me we're going to find her in our social hub one morning, and we're not going to let her get out the door after that. Ladies and gentlemen, United Way has been a leader in our community for 99 years because of hand raisers and game changers like Kim, the 100 heroes on the screen, and every person like all of you who care about our children, our neighbors, and our community. So what do we see for the next 100 years? We know we will continue to magnify our impact through innovation, such as using data to tell us what and where our most critical problems are and providing insight into how to solve them. Bringing together the right people, the right agencies, the right partners, and the right resources to help solve our community's most complex and stubborn issues. And then making positive change happen at scale. I hope you will be inspired to join us and fight with us. We'll take all the innovators, heroes, hand raisers, and game changers we can get to make Central Indiana an even better community for the next 100 years. So here are 3 ways to get involved right now. If you haven't made your gift yet to United Way, I would be grateful if you would join us. If you've already given, I would ask you to consider an incremental gift in honor of our 100 years of service. I promise we will use your generous gift wisely. Find your own way to make a difference in our community. Go online and see our suggestions for 100 ways to celebrate United Way at 100. It's on our website, uwci.org. And now please get your phones out. I'm sure you all have your calendars on your phones, but if you don't, get your calendar out or a piece of paper you can write on, because we are asking you to save April 19th and 20th on your calendars. On April 19th, we will be asking our entire community to participate in an hour of impact. Find 1 hour on that day at work, at home, in your neighborhood, at an agency, at a school, with your Rotary colleagues, and do something impactful in that hour. And then share that moment with us on social media. You can do it alone, or you can do it with others. You can do it anyway, as long as it's an act of service. And on Friday, April 20th, we are throwing a huge party at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to celebrate the 100th anniversary. Spend your lunchtime with us at the track. The big oval will be filled with activities, food, and so much more, and all for free. We hope to commemorate the event with a memorable show of unity that will be a symbol of our commitment to the next century. There is no doubt that our community has challenges, complex problems that require comprehensive solutions and long-term investment. Still, I have never been more optimistic about United Way's ability to lead our community through them. From United Way's humble beginnings 100 years ago to its heroic ambitions 100 years in the future, we know we cannot win this fight alone. It takes all of us to work together to solve our community's most pressing issues. So give what you can. Raise your voice for change. Help spread the word. And roll up your sleeves to transform lives. After all, to live better, we must live united. Thank you.